He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage starts Thursday at 7:30 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Tonight, the future of the NFL takes shape. Welcome to the 2025 SportsGrid Draft Special for night number one, round number one. Two crews, multiple sets in every single angle of the 2025 National Football League Draft. He is the mastermind of the pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. And I am Ben Stevens. Mike Blewett and SportsGrid's NFL insider Adam Kaplan here as well for the entirety of tonight's opening round in the shadows of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Lisi, the future of the National Football League will shift tonight. What are you most looking forward to in tonight's opening round?
Know that number one will be Cam Ward. We knew it for a few weeks. Number two and number three we thought would be Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, but now we're starting to see the market shift a little bit. We're hearing about potential trade type of positions. Maybe Jacksonville, maybe Chicago gets in the mix, and I think those are the storylines, Kev, that'll play out a little bit later tonight.
Absolutely spot on. If anybody out there is trying to play a little bit of catch-up right now, there's a ton of buzz around the Cleveland Browns trading out of the number 2 slot. Yes, sometimes we find ourselves a little caught up in this stuff. Nothing's going to happen. This draft is in 30 minutes. Why would Cleveland play this game? To get a little bit of juice going? That'd be pretty mean. I had to eat an extra Uncrustable because I'm so excited and fired up right now. I wasted one. I don't want to waste one. Let's get a trade. Let's get some movement. Jacksonville, the main connector.
Just a half hour away from when tonight's 2025 NFL Draft is set to begin, a little bit after 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And for every single pick of all 32 that we have in tonight's opening round, we will be live for here on the Draft Special in 2025. Mike Blewett and SportsGrid's NFL insider Adam Kaplan here for the entirety of the night as well. In Blue, what Kevin just mentioned, one of the main themes entering tonight's first round, the lack of movement in the draft order so far. We embark on new territory for the first time in the common draft era, which dates back to 1967. Every single NFL franchise maintains its original first-round pick.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Obviously, that is the story. And, Adam, it's shocking to get this far, this close to the draft, without a round one trade of any kind. Teams like the Browns that hold the number 2 pick have not drafted in the first round since 2021. So you have teams that haven't drafted in some time that are maintaining their positions. As Kevin said, there is some movement, but why do you think that there has been less movement to this point?
So, Mike, when you and I had our pre-draft chat, right?
Yep.
And you would ask me the same question. I said, Mike, this is my 27th year of covering the draft. And I get what are called universal first-round grades. I sort of question personnel sources and coaches. Hey, how do you feel about this player? How do you feel about that player? I only have 12 first-round grades given out. Okay, Mike, that's really low. Typically, they're between 20 and 22 for a really good draft. Yes, for 32 picks it'll be made, but we call universal first-round picks. I only have 12 right now. That is why, if you're within the top 12, or if you're a little bit past it, you want to take a look at that top 10. Somehow try to get into it. But there's one player who's elite in this draft. Only one. I'm talking super elite. That's Travis Hunter, who will go no further than number 2 to the Browns or whoever covers it.
Yeah, so we will obviously keep track of that. Hunter is the player that everybody wants. The Titans have a different kind of need. We expect Cam Ward to go. Okay. Adam and I will be here all night tracking team needs, what the odds look like based on the positions that could be drafted to each individual team. Be sure to update you as often as possible. Back to you, Ben.
The Tennessee Titans will be on the clock in just about 25 minutes. It seems as though we just await official confirmation that Cam Ward will be the first overall pick. He is a minus 50,000. So if that seems set in stone, maybe everything that happens after the Titans at number 1 overall is the story as we approach draft night in Green Bay. You mentioned it briefly there. There is some speculation now around that second overall pick. Maybe not the prospect that goes number 2, but the team making that selection.
Which, of course, is major for markets. Now, if you're holding those great Hunter second overall tickets a month ago, 6-1, 5-1, don't worry. You're in a good spot. You're holding Ashton Genty top 5 tickets, maybe some panic in the room. You were banking on Jacksonville drafting him or Jacksonville trading back, likely Chicago to come up to 5. Now the Browns might hold that pick. Again, no speculation. We're waiting to figure it out. If the Browns do trade back to 5, Albert Breer has reported that offensive tackle could be the look. Kelvin Banks, Armand Membu, the top 2 names that you would think would be in consideration if that is the case. Are the Raiders in disarray now? Wondering, whoa, hold on a second. Nobody was supposed to take more than 1 tackle before us. And also, I think a little bit, Joe, if you're the New England Patriots, chaos just jumping over you, jumping around you, and they're just sitting there drafting Will Campbell?
Yeah, it's possible. I think New England and Jacksonville are the 2 teams that potentially could trade out and get more value. And you talk about Ashton Genty in terms of this draft, and we talked about if he doesn't go number 5 overall, I believe he's a minus 190 pick right now on FanDuel. Prior to that, about a month ago, he was in the area of about 5-1. There's still the opportunity for Las Vegas to pick him at 6th overall. You know, I think that when you look at the market right now in terms of minus 270 for Banks to go to Las Vegas, that's assuming that there's not a team that trades up and Cleveland maybe potentially being in the number 5 slot. And I told you all week in terms of Jacksonville and on radio that I did not believe that Jacksonville would draft Ashton Genty because they have 2 big play running backs in terms of Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Doesn't make sense for them to reach up and grab a player that doesn't do a whole lot for that offense. They have multiple needs like wide receiver and defense that they can grab, so we'll see how this plays out.
And our charge tonight is to drive these draft conversations through the lens of the odds. What the markets are saying, those have moved greatly despite no change in the draft order. Again, all 32 NFL teams enter night number 1 in the 2025 NFL draft with their original first-round selection. Here's how the top 10 of the 2025 NFL draft stacks up as of this moment. The Titans drafting 1st overall. At number 2 currently, it is the Cleveland Browns. Number 3, it's the New York Giants. Number 4, the New England Patriots. And rounding out the top 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. 6 through 10, it's the Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Jets, the Carolina Panthers, number 9, the New Orleans Saints, and rounding out the top 10, the Chicago Bears. Blue, the story, of course, a lack of movement in the draft order, but anytime you are breaking down a National Football League draft, a focus will always be on the quarterbacks. Cam Ward, only a matter of time until he walks out on the stage to greet Roger Goodell as the 1st overall pick. But every other quarterback after that, That is the question. What are you hearing, along with Adam Kaplan, about how many QBs we could see tonight in the opening round?
Yeah, so I think that's obviously going to be the question that we track all night and that people are most curious about. And Adam, it's tied to specific teams, right? We have the Saints sitting at 9. They need a starting quarterback. We have the Steelers sitting at 21. They need a starting quarterback. 6 players that were drafted last year in the first round were QBs and made an impact for their teams. So what is the expectation after Cam Ward of how we see this break out?
Mike, it's funny. With Shedeur Sanders, if you would have asked me in January, I was like, there's no way he gets out of the first round. But the more I would talk to quarterback coaches, coordinators, and personnel people around the National Football League, I'm like, wow, they like but don't love him. To take a quarterback in the first round, you have to feel like this is your guy for the next 8 to 10 years. If you don't, you can't draft him in the first round. Now, you can do, though. If the cost is minimal or not a lot, you could trade up from the second round into the first. That's a different story. But as a true first-round pick, it's questionable. And by the way, the over-under for quarterbacks in the first round is 2.5.
Yeah, and obviously people moving back into the first round is something we're going to track all the way to the end of the night.
2.5 QBs is the number. The over has the juice. Both Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart are a minus 600 favorite to be a first-round pick tonight in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Plenty more coming your way, as we are just about 20 minutes away from when the Tennessee Titans will be placed on the clock at number 1 overall. Cam Ward is a minus 50,000 favorite. Some strong odds for the rest of the top 5. We discuss the prospects you need to know. Up next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Just about 15 minutes away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft, where the Tennessee Titans will be placed on the clock. As we have shared, Cam Ward is a minus 50,000 favorite to be that first overall selection. But, Joe, when this draft cycle started, we thought there would be 2 top 5, top 10 quarterbacks to hear their name called early and often tonight. The second, of course, being Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. Here is the odds profile on Sanders, where we stand just moments away from tonight's draft starting in Titletown, USA. Sanders remains a minus 600 favorite to be a first-round pick, in the team most likely to draft Shedeur Sanders. That would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joe, at minus 150. When all is said and done tonight, where do you think Shedeur Sanders is playing his National Football League football to start his NFL career?
Well, I think he's going to be with New Orleans or Pittsburgh, but I don't think he falls to number 21 overall. I do have him at plus 280 to be a top 10 pick. I know that the stories are coming out about Shedeur Sanders not being and interviewing well, not really being a great talent, but let's call it what it is. You look at the progression in terms of Colorado. He took over a team that was 1-11 the previous season, elevated them to a 4-win season. Year number 2, they go 9-4, steps up with a 70% completion percentage. Yes, he threw to Travis Hunter, and I'll say this, everybody wants to bash him for throwing to a Heisman Trophy winner. Well, Tua did it with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Joe Burrow did it with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Jaden Daniels did it with Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. So if you could take those quarterbacks in the top 10, you certainly could take Shedeur Sanders.
I almost want to attack the Steeler angle a little bit, though. This team is so unserious to me. Reports a little bit earlier today, they're thinking about trading backwards in round number 1. I think they are going to see if they can maybe slip in with the tush-push ban, a rule to ban the quarterback position. Only way to justify this nonsensical approach, waiting on Rodgers' word. Maybe he'll try and steal these kids' spotlight and announce his whole situation at 8:15 tonight. I vote we ignore it. I know we can't. The whole Pittsburgh thing is ridiculous. Yeah. Tomlin's never bad, but he's never great. Or it's been a long time since he's been great. Now these quarterbacks going to fall into their lap, and they're like, what if Trevion Henderson could be a game changer? Okay, great. No, it's ridiculous to me.
The modern draft era, 7 rounds since 1994. The Pittsburgh Steelers have drafted a first-round quarterback twice. Ben Roethlisberger at 11th overall back in 2004. That worked out pretty well. And Kenny Pickett, 20th overall 3 years ago in 2022. So, Mike Blewett, back to you and Adam Kaplan. What ultimately do you believe the plan is for the Steelers in tonight's opening round?
As a resident Steelers fan, I have a little bit more stake in this than perhaps the other guys, but I think Kevin has some really strong points in terms of what their approach is, Cap. It's going to be a situation where are they waiting on a veteran to bring into camp? Mason Rudolph, the only quarterback currently on the roster. And what do they do? I could understand if they trade back if there's a plan with a veteran, but right now they have to address this position hell or high water, whether it's tonight in the first round, in the second round, which they don't even have any picks. They're going to have to move a lot of other picks in order to move up. So they have their hands tied a little bit with the DK Metcalf trade. He's obviously a huge talent add, but now they find themselves in a position with currently no QB.
Yeah, Mike, so what I've been telling our friend Scott Farrell on Coast to Coast for several weeks is I don't think they're going to go quarterback at 21. And Scott looked at me like he thinks, are you sure about that? I'm like, I'm just telling you, I get this feeling, talk to people around the team, that because of the Kenny Pickett miss, they don't want to reach. Again, I said this earlier in our first segment together. You got to love the quarterback. You got to feel like he's your starter for 8 to 10 years. If you're not sure, you can't draft him. Okay, Jackson Dart is a guy who's going to go probably late first, early second. Well, here's the problem. Steelers they don't have a second round pick, as you mentioned, so forget about trading up. Their plan, though, I could tell you at quarterback, even if Aaron Rodgers said tonight I went in, it's not going to affect their decision at quarterback. It's nothing to do with it for the future. Rodgers is a one-year solution, Mike. It has nothing to do with the draft. Yes, they want a developmental quarterback. This is not a great year to do it. They like Sanders. They like Dart. But again, these are not first-round quarterbacks.
Yeah, so they may be looking at somebody in days 2 or day 3, players like Dylan Gabriel and Kyle McCord and Will Howard and Riley Leonard and all those names that we hear in those next tiers of QBs. As far as Shedeur is concerned, I think my biggest concern, guys, and Ben, I'll throw it back to you, is that Shedeur threw a lot of passes. Sure, he had Travis Hunter, but he threw a lot of screen passes. He dealt with a really terrible offensive line. And the Saints and the Steelers, 2 teams that are targeted with him, are struggling at the offensive line in a big way as well.
42 sacks last year is what Shedeur Sanders took during his time at Colorado, despite being the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, and a 74% completion percentage during the 2024 season, 6th best in a single season in FBS history. Speaking of Colorado, That's where the Heisman Trophy winner resided as well, Kev, in Travis Hunter. You mentioned the speculation about maybe a draft reshuffling at the top of our order tonight. Hunter remains a minus 2,400 favorite to be that second overall pick. Abdul Carter remains a minus 1050 favorite to be that number 3 overall selection. What are the odds telling you at this moment?
That Hunter's going to still go, too. I think that's actually really fun that if Cleveland stays, they're absolutely taking Hunter, but they're willing to not take Hunter, right? Like, it's not trading back because we can get our guy later. They're trading away Travis Hunter, which makes this just a really unique situation. It certainly feels like here. And again, the task for us then, Joe, if this trade is pulled off, what would Cleveland do at 5? They would probably have a chance to trade back again with the teams that were calling Jacksonville initially.
Yeah, it is interesting. Do they go offensive line? Do they go another wide receiver later? Depending upon where they fall, that's the concern for the Cleveland Browns. But they're not one player away, right? Travis Hunter will help you get there because of how athletic he is and how dynamic he can be potentially on the offensive side of the ball, and he can take away a third in terms of the defensive side of the ball. But again, it doesn't immediately make them a 9 or a 10-win football team. So you have to get as quick to that level as possible, and let's not face you got to face those teams like Baltimore and like Cincinnati in the division.
The entirety of the top 6 right now, from the odds perspective, has a minus money favorite to go in that spot. Will Campbell, minus 600 to be the 4th overall pick to New England. Ashton Genty remains a minus 190 favorite to go 5th overall. Melvin Banks Jr., minus 270 to go number 6. Plenty more on SportsGrid's draft special. Up next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid's 2025 draft special live right here for the entirety of tonight's opening round in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Kev, as we look at what we are seeing from the odds perspective early, with the draft starting in just about 5 minutes, of course, a prospect that everybody knows, the Heisman runner-up from last year after a historic season at Boise State. That is Ashton Genty. He is a minus 190 favorite to be that 5th overall selection, and yet the team that is most likely to draft Genty at this moment is the Chicago Bears, around a minus 125 or minus 140 number. What do you make of the prospect and the draft stock of Ashton Genty just a few moments away from tonight's opening round starting?
All right, so if we pull back from the betting for a second, I think Genty is being overvalued because of the season that Saquon had. Bijan Robinson and Genty, to me, very similar prospects. Bijan has been fantastic for Atlanta. Absolutely the wrong pick. Jalen Carter was on the board for them. This year at 15, everybody thinks they'll go defensive line. They would much rather have Jalen Carter than Bijan Robinson. The fact that there are not only teams willing to pick Genty inside the top 10, but trade up to the top 5 for him, again, to me, I think we've now gone a little far in overcorrecting the positional value. As far as the betting perspective on it, it's really fascinating here. A guy favored to go 5th, but favored to be picked by the team drafting at 10. And I know I might sound like a broken record, but now the team that people thought at 5 would trade back with the Chicago and Jacksonville, people think could slingshot up the board. If you're the Raiders and all of a sudden, who initially were heavy Genty, now favor to draft Calvin Banks, hey now, all right, so we're in it.
Some of these guys are going in the top 10. We just don't know who. I agree. It is intriguing to see Chicago because, again, Roshan Johnson was there. He was productive. DeAndre Swift, when he was in that lineup, was very productive. They just revamped the offensive line, so it's almost like a plug-and-play. If Ashton Genty is there, okay, he's a dynamic runner. And I told you, I do not believe he's as athletic as Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was hurdling Iowa players, Michigan players. The highlight reel was amazing. I'm just saying, yes, Ashton Genty is a very good running back, but I agree with Kev. He's not any better than Bijan Robinson was a couple of years ago, but we know their new coach, right? Ben Johnson utilized David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They had a lightning, thunder and lightning type of duo. That's what he might want. But I still think Genty does go in the top 6, but I think he goes to Las Vegas at the very least. I don't know if Chicago could trade up and get him.
The natural comparisons to Saquon Barkley based on value and, of course, where that position stands right now. If Ashton Genty does get selected in the top 5 of tonight's NFL draft, he would be the first running back to go in the top 5 since Saquon Barkley did so, 2nd overall to the New York Giants back in 2018. Blewett, there are a couple of position groups throughout this NFL draft that really do carry some value. We consider this a deep running back class, a deep tight ends class, and we have mentioned a few offensive linemen, of course, that will have that value to be a top 10 selection. What are you and Cap seeing about where we are going to see these O-linemen go early and often tonight in Green Bay?
Yeah, really interesting. Something I've parroted many times in the past on these draft shows, Adam, is that I never really criticize a team for taking an offensive lineman. It's always a need for every team. You need depth. You need standout players. And there are obviously teams within this top 10 that are in desperate need. So Will Campbell, Membu, and other players might be key for some of these teams moving forward.
Yeah, Mike, it's really one of the safest positions, specifically left tackle for a right-handed quarterback to protect the blind side. So that's why a guy like Kelvin Banks would probably go higher than most people think. There are just not enough good left tackles. In fact, this draft, and we've talked about, you and I have talked off there about Will Campbell. He's the best one, but he's got shorter arms. And I think New England likes him. In fact, I know they like him. In fact, I'm told that he had a great visit with him. But once you get past the first 4 or 5 left tackles, then there's a drop-off.
Yeah, so guys obviously will be tracking those offensive linemen as they go within the top 10. How many will it be? Will it be 3 or more? That remains to be seen. Back to you, Ben.
Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas, now a minus 270 favorite to be that 6th overall pick currently held by the Las Vegas Raiders. Minus 1,200 for Banks to be a top 10 pick as of this moment. Armand Membu, the offensive tackle out of Missouri, an athletic freak in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine, a minus 500 favorite to be a top 10 selection as well. We are rounding up on the top of this hour as we get ready for that 8 p.m. Eastern time start of the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay. When we return here on SportsGrid's Draft Special in 2025, we will get you set for the Tennessee Titans, about to be put on the clock by the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. More on SportsGrid next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid's 2025 Draft Special live right here for the entirety of the opening round tonight in Titletown, USA. In the shadows of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where the Tennessee Titans, with the first overall pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, are about to be put on the clock. He's Joe Lisi. He is Kevin Walsh. I am Ben Stevens. Mike Blewett and SportsGrid's NFL insider Adam Kaplan here as well for all of our round one action that is just about to begin. And we expect Joe Lisi at the first overall pick. Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami, a minus 50,000 price to go first overall. We'll hear his name called to become the new signal caller in Nashville for the Titans. We expect that to be the case. We await official confirmation. If/when Cam Ward makes his way to Tennessee, what are the Titans getting in the prospect at the quarterback spot that is Cam Ward?
I think a leader, number one. Cam Ward showcased that in terms of transferring from Washington State to Miami, the ability to extend plays, the great pocket presence, always keeping your eyes down the field. Now, is he going to have a Jaden Daniels-esque type of rookie season? I think it'll be a little bit difficult because of the supporting cast, Kev, around Cam Ward. They're still a little weak in terms of the wide receiver position outside of Calvin Ridley and other playmakers. But that aside, Cam Ward elevates his game in the biggest games throughout the regular season. Last year started week 1 against Florida, boat raced the Florida Gators en route to a double-digit dominating win. And even in the losses, guys, he never performed adequate, meaning average. I always saw Cam Ward elevate his game to the next level, and the ability to make every throw is what he brings to the NFL.
Fascinating that there was a legitimate point where Abdul Carter was the favorite.
Yeah.
People thought Tennessee would just balk on the quarterback position, and we now know it's a foregone conclusion.
And we have seen these kind of prices before to be that number 1 overall pick. Last year, Caleb Williams closed as a minus 100,000 favorite to go first overall to Chicago. But as we were just discussing, Cam Ward was not always minus 50,000. As we got ready for Combine Week just about 2 months ago in Indianapolis, it was a minus 120 price, battling for that first overall spot with Abdul Carter, a first-team All-American last year for Cam Ward with Miami. 4,313 passing yards, a Hurricane single-season record in school history. 39 passing touchdowns, also a single-season record for Miami. So Mike Blewett and Adam Kaplan, Cam Ward will take the mantle in Nashville to guide the Tennessee Titans into this new era in 2025. Year number 2 under head coach Brian Callahan, and with a win total blue of 5.5. What can we expect for Cam Ward in his rookie season in Nashville?
Yeah, so theme of in Tennessee, Adam, last couple of seasons is changed. The Will Levis experiment will come to a close as they draft Cam Ward here in just a matter of minutes. They have a new general manager in place. They signed a ton of free agents this offseason, so this roster is churning. They had the 28th ranked offensive line according to Pro Football Focus, so they're going to need weapons.
Yes.
Once they add Cam Ward to this roster.
Yeah, and Mike, talking to the Titans, you know, they were not going to be as aggressive as last year. Yes, as you said, they added a bunch of free agents, but not a lot of high-priced free agents.
Right.
They felt that they had to fill the roster out. Yes, and they just signed Tyler Lockett, formerly of the Seahawks, who will add some depth to the receiver position. But it starts with Cam Ward, the jewel of the draft. By far the best quarterback. Remember at the Combine, we were doing shows there, and I remember when Scott Farrell asked me, he goes, why do you like Cam Ward so much? I'm like, it's not just me. It's talking to coaches. When coaches get involved in the draft process when their season is over in February, right, they see a guy who's super aggressive, who's willing to make any throw and can make every throw. And he's a baller. People have told me, close the situation with the Titans and the research, hard worker. It's family and football, nothing else. That's what you want when you're the face of the franchise. You don't want any uncertainty. And it really starts with him. And you mentioned Will Levis. Will Levis is a guy who was drafted by a former regime, okay? That regime's gone. They have a new front office. They have a new president of football operations, Chad Brinker, who came from Green Bay. You've got a new GM in Mike Berganza, who came from the Chiefs. So these guys have won a lot. They know what it looks like to have a good quarterback. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, not a one-year fix in Tennessee, but Ben, they'll certainly have their quarterback here in a few minutes.
Offensive-minded head coach in Brian Callahan, who will enter year number 2 as the head coach of the Titans. When Cam Ward goes first overall, it'll be the 3rd consecutive year we have seen a QB go first overall to top the NFL draft, the 7th time in our last 8 seasons. So, Kev, as you look at Cam Ward, as you look at Tennessee, of course, following him at that first overall spot, the Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter, expected to go number 2. Of course, a lot of conversation based on what Travis did in college football. Will he be a wide receiver to start offensively? Will he be a lockdown cornerback on the other side? Where do you think Travis Hunter slots in the National Football League?
I do want to do this. You got me. We're good. I just want to make sure. Didn't think so.
Okay, anyway, as we continue here on our 2025 SportsGrid Draft Special, we are just moments away from the Tennessee Titans being placed on the clock. Lisi, same question to you. Travis Hunter, a minus 2,400 favorite to be that 2nd overall selection. It seems like that will be the surefire pick. But what exactly is he going to play in the NFL? What would be your answer?
I still think wide receiver. I think he's the Jamar Chase type of wide receiver, Malik Neighbors type that could take the top off of the opposing secondary. Great hands, great athleticism, catches the football at its highest point. Go back to the North Dakota State game where he had that athletic one-handed catch to give his team the victory in terms of week number 1. That's what Travis Hunter brings. But I also think, Ben, and I told you all week as well, that he's going to have also defensive plays as well. Maybe not 50 or 100 like he's played in terms of college, but I do believe in terms of certain passing situations, they could sprinkle him in as a nickelback or a lockdown corner and make plays on the defensive side of the ball. But I think 80% will be offensively for the Cleveland Browns.
It really is interesting to see what the Browns decide to do. In all of their draft conversations, they have indicated they see Travis Hunter as an elite wide receiver. But, of course, Adam Kaplan, you know the NFL better than most as we toss it back your way with Mike Blewett. In your conversations, for both of you, Blue, what are we hearing about Travis Hunter and which side of the football he focuses on?
Yeah, certainly, Adam. I think there's, from his camp's perspective, there's a desire to be able to play both ways and continue to prove what he proved for years at Colorado. But is it dependent on which team lands Travis Hunter as to where he will play and how much?
Yeah, and Mike, this shocked me when Andrew Berry, the Browns general manager, went on record at the Combine. I'm standing like 5 feet from him, and he was asked a direct question. Berry usually is tight-lipped. He won't give out any information. He goes, we see him as a receiver. I was like, wow, because most teams I've talked to see him as a corner first. Why? Cornerback, Mike, is a more high-value position. When you put together your value board by position, Receivers around 6, corners around 3 or 4. And it's hard to find cover corners like this, but it's just amazing. By the way, Hunter has super high FBI. What's that mean? Functional football intelligence. Super smart, okay? Also, great test score. Like, he's really, really smart. But that's going to be the push and pull, Mike, for coaches. Who am I going to have? Is he playing receiver, or is he going to be in my room at corner? You kind of have to decide that before the draft. You just can't wait till he gets there. This is generally going to be decided before you draft.
Yeah, and Ben, as a fan, certainly I'd want to continue to see him play both ways, but clearly it's going to matter which city he lands in.
And Travis Hunter has said that he wants to still play on both sides of the football. If he does not do that, he'd walk away from the sport altogether. 1,548 overall snaps during his Heisman-winning season in Colorado just last year. The Tennessee Titans are now officially on the clock with the first overall pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. We await the moment. More than likely, Cam Ward will walk out on stage to greet Roger Goodell as the first pick in 2025. Our reaction when that happens on SportsGrid's Draft Special up next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
This is Greg. He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage starts Thursday at 7:30 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality.
What was official is now confirmed. Cam Ward, the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, made by the Tennessee Titans. A minus 50,000 favorite to go first overall. Cam Ward cashes that ticket as the new quarterback in Nashville for the Tennessee Titans. The quarterback from Miami via Incarnate Word and Washington State. That is what we expected. It just officially happened. But what we did not expect, because this draft order had not seen any movement pre-draft, just came our way. Breaking news right here on SportsGrid's 2025 Draft Special. The Cleveland Browns have traded the second overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had the fifth overall selection and are moving up to that second spot. Kev, you have talked about this all night long. The speculation that this could happen, it now officially has. Our first trade in the 2025 draft order. What is your immediate reaction?
It's incredible. Here's the interesting thing, though. Schefter already tweeting out all these details. These teams had this thing hammered out. That's why all of those leaks started very clearly here, Joe. Every indication is they're coming up for Travis Hunter. I am immediately trying to work through 5. But I guess, Joe, I mean, the Browns just traded away Travis Hunter. Jacksonville, we assume, has their megastar.
Yeah, and now you couple them with Brian Thomas in terms of the offensive side of the ball. We talked about Liam Cohen being an offensive mind. Genty didn't really move the needle. Travis Hunter moves the needle now. When you have Travis Hunter potentially on one side, Brian Thomas on the other, you have two big play running backs. You spread the field, and now Trevor Lawrence and that offense can eat. That makes sense more than the Ashton Genty.
0 trades in the first round order for the first time in the common draft era prior to the start of the opening round tonight. But already at that second overall spot, Mike Blewett and Adam Kaplan, we have seen our first blockbuster move that will reshape the future landscape of the National Football League. What are you guys hearing about the exact details of this blockbuster deal between the Browns and the Jags?
So pretty amazing here, Ben. Obviously, that is a blockbuster. As Kevin said, they effectively traded away Travis Hunter, but now, Adam, they are going to be armed to make some movement. Browns are trading that number 2 overall pick, a 4th rounder, number 104, a 6th rounder, number 200 to the Jags. The Jags trade the number 5 overall pick back to the Browns, a 2nd round pick this year, which will give the Browns now picks 33 and 36, a 4th round pick this year, number 126, still pretty high pick, and their 1st round pick in 2026. So the Browns now have a huge haul of picks as they look to move past the Deshaun Watson debacle.
A lot to unpack here. Let me give you the Cliff Notes version. The Browns felt that if they're going to make a trade and not take Travis Hunter, they got to be bowled over. Well, the Jaguars came hard, and they threw a lot at him, and they took the deal. Yes, the Browns now gave up the ability to get that franchise player. Truly, the only true big-time player in this draft is Travis Hunter. He's now going to go to the Jaguars. We'll talk about the Jaguars in a second. But you talked about their picks in the 2nd round. This is around the area where Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders should go. They can get their quarterback now, Mike. We can get it next year. Now, the early word, by the way, is next year's class should be better. I know it's early. We got to see what comes out, obviously, next year in January and February. But the bottom line is the Browns are shaking it up. Now, Andrew Berry's not been a great drafter. Now he's going to be on the clock. They've got a lot of picks now. When you have a lot of picks early on, you could change the fortunes of your franchise if you get them right.
Yeah, no way that the Jags trade for Travis Hunter without utilizing him on offense for Trevor Lawrence, and the Browns obviously huge. A guy named Manning going to be in the draft potentially next year too, so we'll have to track that over the next 364 days, Ben.
a rookie head coach in Liam Cohen trying to reinvigorate that quarterback. That is Trevor Lawrence. Kev, earlier today, Travis Hunter was a minus 2,000 favorite to be that second overall pick. As we started to hear this trade speculation, that strong price for Hunter to go second overall remained at minus 2,400. We still expect, despite Jacksonville moving up to number 2 overall, it will be for Travis Hunter. Is that what we're about to see in a matter of moments?
Huge moves in the market now. Mason Graham, these odds are up. Minus 160 to go 5th overall. That's on DK. That same price now, or market, on FanDuel, looks to be at minus 190. That's a mover. Just trying to click while we're here, it was plus 275. So that is a huge change now. The idea is the Browns, where all of a sudden we were hearing offensive line, market's telling us Mason Graham at 5. I think this might be the funniest thing of all time, where we get this otherworldly trade and just reverts back what everybody was expecting. It's incredible to think, though, now that Mason Graham is going to be the guy at 5. Does this mean a Genti fall? Another big question, Ben.
We'll discuss what the Cleveland Browns do with that 5th overall selection, but the pick is now officially in. Our first blockbuster of the 2025 NFL Draft. Jacksonville trades up to the 2nd overall spot to draft the reigning Heisman winner in Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Lisi, you mentioned what he can present offensively to Jacksonville. How thrilled should Trevor Lawrence be right here, right now?
Oh, very. We talked about the backup wide receivers, Parker Washington, and a bunch of pedestrian guys. Travis Hunter has the ability to put up 1,000 yards. I'll be betting Jacksonville overs for the rest of the year, guys.
A second-team All-American as a wide receiver and the Heisman Trophy winner in 2024. A huge move early on the first night of the 2025 NFL Draft. We continue our reaction with Travis Hunter and Jackson next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's 2025 Draft Special with the first blockbuster of night number 1, round number 1. The Jacksonville Jaguars trade up from the 5th overall spot to number 2 overall to select the reigning Heisman winner out of Colorado, Travis Hunter. So that first big move has happened. Hunter was a minus 2,400 favorite just moments before our opening round began. To go number 2 overall, that ticket still cashes, although it was the Jags drafting Hunter and not the Cleveland Browns as we originally thought. As we were discussing the early portion of this opening round, there was a thought that Cleveland was going to play Travis Hunter or on the offensive side of the ball. But Blue and Cap, now that Jacksonville has Travis Hunter in their organization, what does that mean for where he plays in the National Football League?
Obviously, a new regime in Jacksonville, the youngest, really, head coach GM combination in the league. Liam Cohen, the head man on the sidelines for the Jags now. Trevor Lawrence is now several years into his career. He dealt with an injury last season, but they had an explosive wide receiver in Brian Thomas that they drafted a year ago out of LSU. Now they have Travis Hunter, who obviously can go both ways. Do you add to the explosive side on offense with Hunter and Thomas being utilized by Cohen and Trevor Lawrence?
All right, Mike, let's unpack this. First of all, and you're right, with Brian Thomas, who I could tell you from talking to the Jaguars, he was much better than they anticipated. Okay, he's really smart. He showed he could line up inside, but he's really an outside receiver. Remember now, they traded Christian Kirk in division to the Texans, but he was their slot receiver. Gabe Davis was hurt last season, okay? And he's on he's on their team because his contract's fully guaranteed. Yeah. So he's going to be there. Now, if you look at their roster, and believe it or not, every team does have their own mock draft. And we also did our team needs. When other teams look at the Jaguars, they said, very weak at corner. It's a major need, right? Where does Travis Hunter play? What's his best position? Cornerback. However, they have a need for explosiveness opposite Brian Thomas. It's not a sure thing. He's playing receiver. I just want to make, now obviously the Jaguars, James Gladstone, the 33-year-old GM, is going to have to answer to this. Obviously, when they make a trade, and by the way, they've been talking to the Browns for a while. They just got this consummated. This got some buzz a couple hours ago, no question about it. But they know what they're going to do. And I'm telling you, this is the way it works with coaches. It will not be acceptable for him to go back-to-back, like, oh, he's going to be a receiver this week. He's going to be cornerback next week. It doesn't work like that. Coaches have to know who they're going to have every week.
Yeah, Ben, I think Cap nailed it there at the end, which is that they had a plan for the trade. They worked out the details all along, but they have an even bigger plan for Travis Hunter.
Absolutely so, Mike Blewett. Travis Hunter, a first-team All-American as an all-purpose player and a cornerback during 2024. Second-team All-American at wide receiver. All of that together, a Heisman Trophy winner last college football season as well. So, Kev, the Jacksonville Jaguars have selected Travis Hunter. They move up to second overall. The Browns move out of that spot but remain in the top 5. You mentioned the changes that we have seen for those odds as we will get to Cleveland in just a moment, their perspective of this. But with the New York Giants on the clock, the pick is now in. The favorite to go third overall, the edge rusher and the game wrecker out of Penn State, Abdul Carter, has been drafted by the New York Giants, a minus 1,100 favorite. Right before the draft began tonight to be that third overall selection, Abdul Carter is drafted by the New York Giants. Let's get some immediate reaction before we dive into the Cleveland Browns. Joe, Abdul Carter, an absolute freak on the edge last year for the Nittany Lions. What does he present now at this next level?
A wrecking ball, like Micah Parsons, and much like what the Philadelphia Eagles had in terms of that front seven, the edge rusher to get quarterback pressures on Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott, and more importantly, Jalen Hurts. That's what he brings. Great motor. He did that in terms of the college football playoff loss to Notre Dame. He's a game changer, an athletic talent, and could still add about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and not lose a beat.
Abdul Carter, the third overall pick to the New York Giants. The rest of the top 5 in a changing order up next. Oh, not up next. Excuse me. My mistake right there. Let's round out the rest of the top 5 then, Kev. On the clock right now, the New England Patriots at 4th overall. Will Campbell, a minus 600 favorite. The offensive lineman out of LSU. But at 5th overall, of course, the Browns move back to that spot. What does this do for the draft outlook now for Cleveland?
All right, so at 5, we do not have live odds of who will be there. It closed with Mason Graham. We heard a lot around the offensive tackle. I heard a few Mason Graham, though, prior to everything obviously fully materializing. It would be surprising if Cleveland didn't go that direction. The question you still have to ask yourself, are the Browns picking at 5? Can the Browns, who I think had this deal with Jacksonville done at least an hour ago, Have they already talked to teams that wanted Genti at 5?
Ashton Genti was a minus money favorite to be a top 5 pick just about an hour ago. More on SportsGrid's Draft Special next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2025 SportsGrid Draft Special rolls on in night number 1, round number 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. The first 3 picks of tonight's opening round have all been made. Cam Ward goes first overall to the Tennessee Titans. We expected that. Travis Hunter goes second overall. We expected that. But he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was the big trade. The Jags moving up from 5 to second overall in a deal with the Cleveland Browns to take the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. And at third overall, Abdul Carter is the selection made by the New York Giants. Also a strong price to be that third overall pick. As we talk about Abdul Carter and what he means now for this New York Giants organization, Blue and Cap, we bring you guys in. How will Abdul Carter factor into the G-Men's outlook for 2025?
So, Cap, the first thing I would say is that I respect that the Giants looked into the trade to trade up, potentially look at Hunter, but stuck to their guns. It's an expensive trade for the Jaguars. They're going to have to utilize it to the best of their ability. The Giants stuck with a player that they really like in Abdul Carter. But what does that mean for the future of some other players on the team?
Mike, it's interesting because if you looked at it, some fans might say, well, wait a minute, they have Kayvon Thibodeau. Aha! His fifth-year option is due next Thursday. I just thought it's hard to justify picking it up when you just drafted Abdul Carter. Now let me say one thing about Abdul Carter. Clearly, the Giants and other teams I spoke with, they were okay with the medical. He had the stress reaction, which is a foot injury, and the shoulder injury, which I'm told was very minor. So the Giants were comfortable with it. Other teams I talked to in the top 10 were comfortable with the situation. So Carter now will be a starter. If he's healthy, he has to start. They could have a great rotation this season. Thibodeau, again, he's on the final year of his deal. Next week, we'll decide whether they pick up his fifth-year option. The problem with the fifth-year option is, Mike, since the 2020 CBA, it's fully guaranteed once you exercise it. This should be, theoretically, Mike, two things are going to be with Kayvon Thibodeau here. Either he's traded during this draft, or this will be his last year as a Giant. It's either or.
Yeah, so obviously an impact player in college was Abdul Carter. Ben, we'll see if he can make the same impact at the professional level with the Giants.
23 and a half tackles for loss a season ago for the Nittany Lions. That led all of FBS college football. So the Giants at number 3 select Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State. The Patriots on the clock at number 4, and the pick is now officially in. As we expected, Will Campbell is that 4th overall selection, the offensive lineman out of LSU. Joe, he had a sensational career in the SEC, guarding that left side of the Bayou Bengals offensive line. He will be tasked with doing something similar now under Mike Vrabel and protecting the most valuable asset in New England, that is Drake May. Do you like the pick the Patriots made at 4th overall?
Yeah, solid. They want to obviously, pass the football with Drake May, open things up, and Will Campbell has great technique. Showcased that throughout his career in terms of LSU, protecting Garrett Nussmeier, protecting quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels as well. And I'll just say this, it's very strong, 228 pounds in terms of the 225 bench press, second strongest player in terms of the offensive line at the draft. He's a game changer. I know the arm length is potentially an issue, but in terms of technique from pass blocking, he is the best one in this draft. In run blocking, a little bit of a concern, but they can work on that. He can add, he's 319. They can add another 15, 20 pounds. Again, he could bulk up. I love his size, and I think he's going to be an all-pro on the next level.
Will Campbell gained a lot of steam here. There were some reports that even if, and it didn't happen, Carter was available at 4, they were still going to go with an offensive lineman here at this slot, trying to beef up and protect Drake May. But all right, no one cares. Minus 800. Thank you. Moving along, New England. Thanks for. All right, let's go. Cleveland, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Offensive line, Mason Graham. Are they going to draft Ashton Genty? Are they going to trade back? Are they going to draft Genty and then call, be like, hey, we got him. Who wants him? Are the Raiders, Pete Carroll's tweeting out draft clues. But old Pete even know who's going to be on the board when they were drafting at 6. Maybe not. So this, to me, is where we start to find the fascination. They're still hanging some markets here. I'll give an example. Tyler Warren, plus 110, 7th overall pick, New York Jets. Again, I don't know who's going to be on the board at 7. I don't know who's going to be drafting at 7. If Genty slipped to 7th, the Jets trade out and the Bears secure their guy, I would say yes. That's 15-1. Cleveland is right now the most powerful team in this draft.
After that seismic deal between the Browns and the Jaguars, Jacksonville moving up to number 2 overall to draft Travis Hunter. You said the odds popped up ever so briefly, Kev, for the defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mason Graham, as a minus money favorite to be that 5th overall pick. The Cleveland Browns are now on the clock. Lisi, quickly to you. Cleveland makes the move down but remains in the top 5. What would you like to see the Browns do with this 5th overall pick?
Pick Shador at 5 overall. That would really change this whole draft, right? They need a quarterback. You knew that potentially they could have taken him at 2 overall, but now they get better value, and they only drop 3 spots. So, I mean, it's still in play. Offensive tackle, obviously, is the safe choice. You want to protect Kenny Pickett. You want to protect that offensive line no matter who the quarterback is. But at number 5 overall, they have the ability to take Shador Sanders and throw this whole draft into complete flux, and that would cash a lot of tickets for a top 5 selection.
And it would change the odds drastically. Ashton Genty ended as a top 5 favorite at a minus 360 price or so. And as we are now hearing, the pick is officially in. The Browns trade out of the number 2 overall spot back to number 5. And with that selection, it is the interior D lineman out of Michigan, Mason Graham, who goes 5th overall to the Cleveland Browns. As we bring in Blue and Cat, more reaction to what Cleveland did early on here in the top 5 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Did Andrew Berry make the correct decision to move back and draft Mason Graham from the Maize and Blue?
Well, Cap, we already talked about what they are planning for, which is to get past the Deshaun Watson contract and the Deshaun Watson era of the Cleveland Browns. Needs that you highlighted: quarterback, left tackle, running back, wide receiver, safety, defensive tackle, and corner, which is a lot. Obviously, when you're picking second in the draft, you need a lot of help, but they get one here in Mason Graham, who is considered to be a very solid prospect, even if not an elite Hall of Fame type prospect.
Yeah, he is, Mike. Mason Graham of Michigan. He is a outstanding 3 technique. He is the best defensive tackle for this draft. Walter Nolan will probably go second when we talk about defensive tackles out of Mississippi, but Mason Graham will be a day 1 starter. They've got Malik Collins as sort of a journeyman, nice player. Shelby Harris has been around the league a long time, so this is a building block player, no question about it. Quarterback potentially in the 2nd round because they've got a couple 2nd-round picks, but the bottom line is they got a starter day 1 by trading down. That's what you want, and isn't it ironic? A lot of us had Mason Graham going at number 5, but to the Jaguars.
Yeah, so Mason Graham goes where people thought he was going to go. It's just to a different team. Ben, obviously, we have a Browns team, which was a last-place team a year ago. They're going to have to continue to try to punch up against teams like the Ravens, Bengals, and even the Steelers.
In the last 5 years, Michigan has had a slew of first-round selections. It is the 53rd consecutive NFL draft that a player from the Wolverines has been taken by at least one of those clubs around the NFL. Mason Graham goes 5th overall to the Cleveland Browns. 2 teams within the top 5 have a win total of 5.5 for this upcoming NFL season, with the juice on the under. The New York Giants at 5.5, the under at -140. The Cleveland Browns also at 5.5. The under has considerable juice. So, Kev, quickly to you from the odds perspective. Our first draft slide, ever so slightly, because of the changes in the order in the top 5, is now Ashton Jeanty, who was a minus money favorite to go 5th overall and a hefty favorite to be a top 5 pick. Where does Ashton Jeanty end up? Could it be the team originally linked to him in Las Vegas?
Again, this is the fascinating thing. Had the Raiders and all of their leaks and thoughts of tackle, was that because they thought Jeanty was a goner? Did they do that to maybe give Chicago a sense of security in sitting there at 10? I think it's on the board. A lot of people are expecting tackle here. Obviously, time will tell, but this is fascinating now that maybe Chicago could sit at 10 and draft Ashton Jeanty.
It is a very interesting development early on here in the opening round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Mason Graham goes 5th overall. What happens to Ashton Jeanty's draft stock? We discuss up next.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid's 2025 draft special continues on this opening night. It is Thursday in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in round number 1. Just discussing right before the break, where would Ashton Jeanty go on this draft day? He was a hefty favorite as a top 5 selection. With a reshuffling in the draft order, Cleveland selects Mason Graham 5th overall, which allowed the Las Vegas Raiders at number 6 overall to take their running back of the future, the Heisman runner-up from the 2024 college football season, Ashton Jeanty, goes 6th overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. So, Kev, from the odds perspective, we talked about this early on. When these odds opened up in the draft cycle, Las Vegas was a minus 150 favorite to draft Ashton Jeanty, but as of draft week, that didn't seem to be the most plausible scenario anymore. How did we arrive at this spot with Ashton Jeanty going 6th overall?
Yeah, I think it's the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to do something, and they went up instead of down. And it gave the Raiders then an opportunity to seemingly take the player they were linked to the entire time. I am personally, I do not like what the Browns did in drafting Mason Graham. I think all of those offers that Jacksonville were seemingly fielding from teams wanting to come up for Jeanty to some degree could have then been there for the Browns. I don't think Graham is the 5th best player in this class by any stretch of the imagination. If you're Vegas, you're excited, but I still echo my same sentiments. The Vegas Raiders are, even if they can pull off an upset, booked to finish as the last team within their division. Yes, Jeanty has a clear path for a 1,000-yard season and will be booked as the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I am sure of it. Chip Kelly has ties to the 2 Ohio State backs in this class. Was this the best use of this spot here? Remember, Zeke had amazing seasons for the Dallas Cowboys. If you did a redraft, is he going 4th overall to Dallas? Highly doubt it.
This is the earliest a running back has gone in the opening round of the NFL draft since Saquon Barkley was selected 2nd by the New York Giants back in 2018. Lisi, we can talk fit, but let's talk prospect. And the Heisman runner-up, that is Ashton Jeanty. 2,601 rushing yards last year for the Boise State Broncos, the Mountain West champs, who reached the college football playoff. The 2nd most rushing yards in a single season in college football history, only trailing the great one that was Barry Sanders. What do you make of the prospect Ashton Jeanty and what he will do in the NFL?
A few years ago, for that offense, you could feed him 25 to 30 times, yards after contact. He never wears down, never gets tired, gets stronger as the game progresses, and takes games over. I think that's the biggest thing. Even when he was contained in the playoff loss to Penn State, he still gained 100 yards, still willed his way, and has great vision for a guy his size. He also gets the football out of the backfield. That is great. Maybe a Saquon Barkley or some of the other receivers that we've seen, like Bijan, like Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's still available on 3rd downs, and I think that's another area where the Raiders will benefit.
Because of all he did on the ground last year, Ashton Jeanty was tasked with doing much as a receiver, but 2 seasons ago in 2023, 43 grabs, 569 receiving yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. Also, what he is great at, making people miss, 1,970 yards after contact last year. That was more than even the 2nd most rushing yards. More than 250 yards clear of the guy that had the 2nd most rushing yards total last season in FBS college football. There is no doubt, Blue and Cap, that Ashton Jeanty is a talented playmaker and should continue that offensively at the next level. We know Pete Carroll is fond, the new GM in Las Vegas, of drafting running backs, but I think the natural question for a team that seems to be undergoing a rebuild is why. I hope you have the answer for us.
Yeah, so obviously one of my favorite stats about Jeanty is that he got to 1,000 yards before he even had 100 carries this past season. So explosive, really ran roughshod over a lot of different defenses. I'm curious in the way that the Raiders have acted this offseason. Geno Smith, they obviously bring in Pete Carroll to try to stabilize everything. They had a really terrible season last year, and Jeanty comes in as an explosive piece. But can he be an explosive piece for this Raiders team the way it's currently built?
Well, Mike, the reason why there are a lot of rumors about the Raiders maybe trading out is because they don't have a very good roster. That's the way other teams see it. But when you look at Jeanty, he fits the profile of what Chip Kelly will want. Chip Kelly's a running game specialist. We know Pete Carroll's about running the football, playing defense. He's going to settle things down, and that's what you can do. The thing that separates Genty from Marion Hampton, who we'll talk about later in the first round, is Genty is a guy who can handle a lot of volume. Hampton's more explosive. That's really the difference. But Genty's the guy, if you get a lead or you just want to settle things down because you're not really good at quarterback or okay at quarterback, not good, very good at receiver, just run the football and play good defense. But they still need a lot of help, and that's why a lot of people thought they might trade out.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the Raiders still have a lot of needs. It'd be exciting to see Genty do some of the same things at the next level that he was able to do a season ago, Ben. But in that division with Reed, Mahomes, Nix, Peyton, and Herbert and Harbaugh, they still have a long way to go.
Genty, hailing from Boise State, just the overall first-round pick. The Broncos had in school history a Boise State player has been drafted in NFL draft history. Lisi, as we move on from Ashton Genty, that 6th overall selection made by the Las Vegas Raiders, that means at number 7, the New York Jets are now on the clock. This offseason, they signed Justin Fields at the quarterback spot, moving on from the Aaron Rodgers era and a new era in Florham Park. What do you think the New York Jets do at that number 7 overall pick?
That's a good option or fit for them. It's a very deep tight end class. I think they go Membu, offensive tackle to protect Justin Fields. Very physical type of blocker. 6'4", 330 pounds. Kev, great in terms of run blocking as well. And they want to run the football with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen.
Yeah, look, again, I think Genty can go out there, win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm still going to tell you I think this team should have done other things here at the 6th overall pick, quite frankly. If they win a playoff game this year, okay, maybe I'll change my... Let me put it to you like this. Saquon Barkley is going to go in the Eagles Hall of Fame and maybe go into Canton. The Giants still would not take him at 2 if they could do that all over again.
The other New York team, the Jets, are on the clock when we return here on SportsGrid's 2025 Draft Special.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's draft special here for the 2025 NFL Draft all night long for the entirety of our first round in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 7th overall, the New York Jets on the clock, and now the pick is officially in. The Jets select Armand Membu, the offensive tackle out of Missouri. Lisi guy, an athletic freak, during his performance at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis and became a surefire top 10 selection. Minus 500 as the draft odds closed. Here on this Thursday night to go in the top 10, he goes 7th overall to the New York Jets. What do you make of the selection the Jets made to draft Armand Membu?
They want a physicality on the offensive line. You have a new quarterback in Justin Fields that can not just throw it, Ben. We know that he utilizes his legs, and the RPO game is all intact in terms of that offense. You have two dynamic running backs, and I think Membu is the guy to lead this offensive line to the next level. They bring a physicality, protected Brady Cook. They ran the football extremely well in terms of Missouri, in terms of the tempo as well. He's conditioned. That's the type of offense I believe that New York wants to run with Justin Fields. A solid pick. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's a solid pick, and it brings their offense potentially to the new level.
Look, I think the reality is Armand Membu is firmly viewed as a right tackle, and the Jets entered this draft, if they could, ideally getting a right tackle. The fascinating thing, though, is Tyler Warren did close as the favorite to go here. The question, Ben, with Carolina on the clock, reports coming out, they are willing to trade out of this 8th overall slot. I would think the team coming up is targeting Tyler Warren. I still think he's going to be the first tight end off the board as opposed to Colston Loveland, Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos, teams that have been talked about potentially wanting to trade up at the tight end position.
Armand Membu, by the way, 7th overall pick made by the New York Jets. The 4th time in the last 6 NFL drafts, the Jets have utilized a first-round selection on an offensive lineman, now tasked with protecting Justin Fields, and as Lisi laid out earlier, a slew of talented young running backs for Gang Green. But let's talk about that 8th overall spot in the Carolina Panthers. Blue and Cap, what do you think Carolina needs to do with that 8th overall pick?
Yeah, still a lot of needs. Obviously, trying to build this team around Bryce Young. Pretty good rookie season for Dave Canales in the head coaching spot. I thought the team rallied and played a lot better at the end of the season, especially when Bryce Young came back in. Now, you had the Jets, a team that has taken a bunch of swings on first-rounders at offensive line. What do the Panthers do here if they remain in this 8th spot?
Yeah, Mike, their biggest need by far is edge rusher. Terrible last season. They just had very little pass rush. Now, I would tell you not only that, they were in on the Milton Williams sweepstakes. Milton Williams signed a big deal with the Patriots. He's more of an interior defensive lineman than edge rusher. So think about that. They could look for a defensive tackle here. They could look to trade down. It is, to me, Walter Nolan's, I'm told, a guy that they really like. But, yeah, they're a team, and another reason why is when you're a bad team, so what Cleveland did, get as many picks as possible because they have so many needs. If you look at our need chart for the Panthers, they've got a lot of them. Edge, receiver, corner, and safety. Edge, Mike, for years has been a problem for them, and that's why Jadeveon Clowney is still there.
Yeah, and this is a draft where that position, edge, is considered to have quite a bit of depth. So if they don't get somebody here and they decide to move, Ben, then maybe that's an option for them, adding picks and getting somebody that they like a little bit later in this first round.
And as Kevin alluded to, multiple trade partners could be waiting in the wings, trying to make a move up to go after the Mackey Award winner, the tight end hailing from Penn State, in Tyler Warren. But, Kev, if we think the Carolina Panthers do remain at number 8 overall, before this draft started, the guy who went 5th to Cleveland, Mason Graham, was the favorite to go to the Carolina Panthers. Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams, the talented edge rushers out of Georgia, still remain on the board as well. If Carolina is making this 8th overall selection, do you think it's a focus on that defensive line?
Well, the market on FanDuel did at a minus 370 closing Jalen Walker number. However, not as much confidence over on DK. Pat McMillan was getting a lot of love there. Mason Graham, though, was a huge riser because, remember, an hour ago, we thought Mason Graham was going to fall out of the top 10 to some people. So a really fascinating situation here. If I would say this, if Carolina goes defense, Ben, I still wouldn't be positive it's Jalen Walker as much as the books seem to be positive.
Bryce Young taking the reins of that quarterback spot back at the end of his sophomore campaign. And there should be some optimism in Charlotte entering 2025. Do they need to improve along that defensive front? We'll tell you up next when our upcoming hour on SportsGrid's Draft Special, the 2025 NFL Draft, continues live right here for the entire opening round.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of thoughts.
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A new hour begins on the SportsGrid Draft Special 2025. He is Kevin Walsh. He is Joe Lisi. I am Ben Stevens. Our SportsGrid NFL insider Adam Kaplan here, along with Mike Blewett. The Carolina Panthers, as we start this new hour, are on the clock. And as I am hearing, the pick is now officially in. The 8th overall selection in the 2025 NFL Draft is the wide receiver out of Arizona, Teteroa McMillan. He goes 8th overall to Carolina. The Panthers deciding, Joe, let's give another tool to our young quarterback in Bryce Young. How would you rate this pick on a scale of 1 to 10?
I love it. I would say it's an 8.5 in that area. And you think about Leggett, a little, stone hands at the end of the year. You need the help to help out Bryce Young in terms of his development. And Dave Canales gets a big body, 6'4", about 220 pounds. I think if we're looking comp, Mike Evans. Now, I know Mike Evans, Hall of Famer in terms of legitimate 1,000-yard seasons, but the body style, the way he goes up, Kevin, grabs the football at its highest point, boxes out in terms of red zone opportunities, that's the type of target you have, and he's much more athletic, I believe, than obviously Leggett, who's a little bit bigger and thicker in terms of stature.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Bryce Young right now celebrating. That wide receiver room needed juicy, and Rappaport now drops the tweet that those two have been privately training together, which is incredible. Is that tampering? Is that allowed? What are the rules and regulations there? I like Ted McMillan. I liked him at Arizona. He's absolutely huge. I think he's a really good athlete as well. And also, a couple of weeks ago, we grabbed +490 to get inside that top 10. Someone had to say, why not me? Come on, now.
Way to cash that bet. Kevin Walsh, it's what we hope to do here as well. Ted McMillan T-Mac, as he is known, stormed onto the scene to start the 2024 college football season. 10 grabs, 304 yards, and 4 touchdowns in the Wildcats opener against New Mexico. A little glimpse at what he might be able to do in Charlotte alongside Bryce Young at the next level. But Blue and Cap, this was a little bit of a surprise. Teteroa McMillan did close as the ever-so-slight favorite before the draft began on this Thursday evening to go 8th overall. His draft position prop, though, 12.5, the under a slight bit of juice. Why did Carolina make the decision to add another wide receiver to this Panthers organization?
At 6'4", 219, a big target, a little bit of a big surprise here for the Panthers to take him at this juncture of the first round. Well, here's what I would say is that whenever you have a young quarterback like they do with Bryce Young, and it was ugly early for Bryce Young, but we saw glimpses of what he could be able to do, and I think Dave Canales and this organization realizes we need to do everything we can to support the quarterback, and in this instance, they're going to get him a huge target, even though it's not universal that Ted McMillan is a top 10 pick.
Mike, that is correct. So one of the cool things about my role here at SportsGrid is I could text personnel people and coaches during the draft to get their reaction. What do you think of the pick, or how does he fit? And I'm texting with the receivers coach. And he said, I gave him a late one early, too. I'm like, why? What don't you like? He goes, he's a good player. Yes, he's one of the best receivers for the draft. And he said, I told you before this draft that it's not a great class. He said, the problem with McMillan is almost all his production is winning 50-50 balls. That's a college football. You got to show you can go over the middle. Stop and start your routes. He goes, he's going to need time and patience. He's got to learn to do other things. And Joe mentioned Xavier Legette, who, by the way, is very raw. They have Adam Thielen. Jalen Coker came out of nowhere as an undrafted free agent who's a good football player. But to move this forward, Mike, yes, they're building that room. It's all about helping the franchise quarterback. But folks have to be patient with McMillan. This is not college football. This is now playing with the big boys. We're at the major league level.
Yeah, I said it's not universal that he is a top 10 pick. It is actually a top 10 pick. Ted McMillan will be in Carolina supporting Bryce Young, and obviously a huge athlete here, Ben. We'll see how that works out for Bryce Young.
More than 1,300 receiving yards for T-Mac last year, 8 receiving touchdowns, more than 1,400 the year prior in 2023, with double-digit receiving TDs as well. So Teteroa McMillan goes 8th overall to the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young seemingly happy with the addition on the offensive side. 9th overall on the clock as we speak. The New Orleans Saints in the pick now in the Big Easy. The offensive tackle out of Texas, Kelvin Banks Jr., is the selection made by New Orleans. Joe, it is a rookie head coach in the Big Easy. The Kellen Moore era begins with selecting an offensive tackle to reinforce that O-line. Of course, the quarterback situation in New Orleans, a focus on Derek Carr right now, but early in this draft process, we saw guys like Shedeur Sanders, even Jackson Dart, floated to the Saints at number 9 overall. They ultimately decide to reinforce that O-line. Do you like the pick?
You have to solidify offense and defensive lines. You have young quarterbacks. They could still potentially get a quarterback a little bit later in terms of this draft. Not elite. Maybe they didn't like Shedeur Sanders, but Banks is a guy, when you look at Texas and Steve Sarkisian, they can run the football. Very good in terms of pounding the rock, and that's what Kellen Moore did with Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia. Alvin Kamara, not the same running back. You have to solidify that offensive line, build it from the inside out.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating, though, is the Saints have been heavily linked to the quarterback position, including Jackson Dart. Yeah. I think the odds have told us if they want to grab Dart, not doing here at 9, they're going to have to get back inside round number 1. I think to some degree the odds have told us all that, hey, man, the quarterbacks were going to fall. There was a time where you could find mocks that had 3 quarterbacks inside your top 10. We're going to leave here with 1, barring a miracle, Chicago on the clock. Obviously, that would be a trade out, which, by the way, not impossible. The Bears not able to get up for Gentry. There was some chatter as well then the other direction of, could this be a team that looks to get then moving back? Many thought that the consolation prize for not Ashton Gentry would be Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, a considerable favorite to go inside the top 10. Yeah. One spot left.
One spot left. It is the Chicago Bears, who made the first overall pick a draft ago, and of course selected Caleb Williams. Blue and Cap, we go right back to you. Again, there was an idea leading into this draft that New Orleans was maybe going to focus on the quarterback spot. So first year under rookie head coach in Kellen Moore, what do we think the plan is now for New Orleans at that quarterback position in 2025?
Yeah, Cab, so this was one of the teams that it felt like there was pressure, external pressure for them to make a move at quarterback. We see that with the Browns, with the Giants, now the Saints. All three teams have left this top 10 without drafting a QB. The Steelers are one of those teams as well. People are curious. Their fan bases are curious. What are we going to do? When are we going to land that QB? So now that the Saints, with Kellen Moore, which will be a very offensive-forward franchise moving forward, they're going to solidify on the offensive line before they move forward with any QBs.
Yeah, and this is interesting. So Kelvin Banks is a left tackle. He's not a right tackle, okay, first of all. Well, it's interesting. They declined the fifth-year option of Trevor Penning, the right tackle. Remember, they drafted him as left tackle. He didn't work out there. He moved him to right. Fuaga was their left. He's a massive human being. He could play right or left tackle. So, but the bottom line is they've got their tackles. They need to get their quarterback of the future. And here's the other thing. They got the Derek Carr shoulder issue. Now, I'm told last year it was actually the AC joint, which is a minor injury. They got to figure this out. Quarterback is a major problem for this football team. And by the way, they always have cap problems, Mike.
Yeah.
This is a team that's kind of in turmoil. They're very average. You know, they've had receiver problems with injuries. They're kind of a mess, and they got to get the quarterback. That before the end of the draft, Mike, they kind of have to know where they're going there.
Yeah, I respect the fact that they went with a tackle here, but Ben, it feels like this is a team that's on its way down before they come back up.
So as we look at the quarterback spot in this 2025 NFL draft, the Bears on the clock at 10th overall. Of course, they have their quarterback in Caleb Williams. Last year, we saw 6 QBs, an NFL record for the most ever in an opening round of the NFL draft, all in the top 12. A different story in 2025. More to come next on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
SportsGrid's 2025 draft special rolls on live right here for the entirety of night number 1, round number 1 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. These words never kind to say outside of Lambeau Field. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. And with the 10th overall pick, a slight stunner at the tight end position. The Bears draft the tight end out of Michigan, Colston Loveland. At the 10th overall spot, Colston Loveland now heads to the Windy City from Ann Arbor. Kev, we start with you in terms of the odds perspective. I do apologize. We know that Tyler Warren, the Mackey Award winner out of Penn State, was a hefty favorite not just to be a top 10 pick tonight in this opening round, but also to be the first tight end selected in this year's draft class. He is neither. It is Colston Loveland going 10th overall to Chicago. How surprised are you?
I'm a little disappointed getting a 10.5 minus 152 that closed closer to minus 350, but that happens from time to time. I think what's really interesting, though, is the Bears were set on Genty, didn't pivot at the running back position. They do have an earlier pick inside round number 2. Could that be the running back position? I did wonder a little bit, Joe, if Amarion Hampton would be their pivot without Genty. They stuck tight end, didn't go Warren, they went Colston Loveland.
I like the pick. I think Loveland is a better tight end and a better route runner than Ty Warren. I think Warren's built more like Kyle Juszczyk than he is a tight end. And I think if you're looking for a pure route runner and you're looking for somebody that's obviously an extra extension offensive lineman in terms of the rushing attack, which Michigan love to do, he's your guy. I also think that when you look at, Loveland in terms of the productivity, he had Alex Uji and Davis Warren, which were totally inept in terms of the passing attack, and still was able to produce and put up numbers. That shows you something. I think he's like a Travis Kelce and a Brock Bowers type of player.
I just want to throw this out there. FanDuel Live, minus 400. Tyler Warren, 14th overall pick. DK, minus 250. If they passed on Warren, I'd be stunned. So much so, though, I wouldn't bet that. I'd worry they'll try and see if they can get to 13, safety play type of thing. Miami, we've heard about trading back possible.
14.5 was the draft position prop for the Michigan tight end in Colston Loveland. The under had the juice because we thought he would more than likely slot in at number 14 to the Indianapolis Colts. He goes earlier at 10th overall to the Chicago Bears. As we welcome back in Mike Blewett and Adam Kaplan. Guys, this also means not just a surprise for Chicago at the tight end spot, but only one quarterback taken in this year's top 10. And that was the very first pick of this 2025 draft. Cam Ward, first overall to the Tennessee Titans. Last year, we saw 6 QBs go in the first 12 picks of night number 1. What does this say for the rest of the quarterback class here in 2025?
Yeah, we've got a lot of graphics up here behind us, a lot of boards that we're tracking team by team. Now we're tracking all of Cap's top 10 QBs. Obviously, we just have the one off the board in Cam Ward. We've discussed Shedeur Sanders at length. Jackson Dart is another player that I think a lot of people see as a potential first-round selection. Other players, Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe, considered to be, well, in Shuck's case, an older QB with a lot of experience, and in Milroe's case, an absolutely stupendous athlete. So, for the rest of these guys, what does it look like for them as they wait out round 1 and beyond?
So, Mike, for the last 2 weeks, I kept saying on SportsGrid, whatever show I was on, for Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart, it's late 1, early 2, okay? Right now, it looks like that's going to play out. Now, of course, the team could trade up. You always have that possibility. Tyler Shuck is an amazingly talented quarterback, but he's older. Big injury history, several schools.
He'll turn 26 in September.
That's big. Now, it is quarterback. You could play into your late 30s, right? Jalen Milroe is sort of the X factor here because he's so gifted, but is very raw. He needs time to develop. He's got to play behind a veteran quarterback. Ewers is a guy that he had a side injury and an oblique injury last season. He didn't look great. I'm told he looked really good at the combine. He'll go a little bit later. McCord's a guy put up big college numbers, but he's a guy who's going to go later. But, Mike, again, it's not a very good class. I said this on Scott's show on Coast to Coast in January. This is like one of the worst years I've seen in my career for quarterback. It's probably going to play out that way in terms of franchise-type players. Shedeur is going to be a good quarterback. I really believe that. But he's not a guy that you say is a blue-chip prospect. That's why he did not go in the top 10. That's why he didn't go to New Orleans, who, by the way, needs a quarterback badly for the future.
Yeah, will be really interesting. Obviously, those same teams we're going to keep harping on, the Giants, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Saints. What are they going to do for their quarterback of the future? A couple more desperate than others, Ben.
Earlier in the week, Shedeur Sanders was greater than a $2 favorite to be a top 10 pick in tonight's opening round, but here on draft day, that was a plus 300 price in moving against the stock of Shedeur Sanders. Again, the over-under prop for the number of quarterbacks in round number 1 tonight, 2.5. The over has the hefty juice. We might see 3. We'll continue to track the QBs all night long. But 11th overall, San Francisco 49ers have made their selection. Of course, a team with much brighter hopes than drafting 11th in the NFL draft. They make the move, though, to bolster up the defensive line. The first edge rusher out of Georgia, Joe, 11th overall. The Niners draft Mykel Williams. This is a guy that you have loved throughout this draft process. A little bit banged up last year for UGA in 2024. What do you think he presents for the 49ers?
Pick. I think he could be a potential All-Pro Rookie of the Year the way Jared Verse was for the LA Rams last year at 19 overall. If this draft took place last year, Ben, we would say Mykel Williams and Pierce from Tennessee would be maybe top 3, top 5, respectively. Because of the injuries, he fell out of the top 10. He had a 10.5 number on him, right at number 11 to San Francisco, and I love the pick. He's 6'5", 260, and what do we know, Kev, about Georgia players translating to the NFL? All they do is produce, baby. I think he's got a great career, potential All-Pro status for the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Howie Roseman right now. One less I got a shot at here. Niners to draft defensive line or edge rusher was plus 160 at one point where I grabbed it, closed at a minus price, but not minus 200, minus 300 at some of those markets goes. I think the books had to respect the potential of a Kelvin Banks or Armand Membu falling here. They both go inside the top 10. I think it made the Niners' decision, at least positionally, easy, a faller through the odds. Even though I did my own mock draft, like I saw it maybe a little bit coming, but Jalen Walker. Here's the thing, though. Dallas, king of BPA. But hey, you guys desperately need this. Yeah, no, we don't. There's a star on the board. They're the stars. I wonder.
Yes, you are correct, Kev. Two teams that do not often want to be drafting this early on. San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys. Plenty more to come. Up next, I'm right here on Sports.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. your ultimate second screen experience.
15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We welcome you back to SportsGrid's draft special right here in 2025. The San Francisco 49ers with the 11th overall pick select the edge rusher out of Georgia in Michael Williams. As we talk about the 49ers, it's a really interesting spot for a team that only had 6 wins in 2024, drafting 11th overall. But in the 5 NFL seasons prior, Joe, they appeared in the NFC Championship game in 4 of the 5 years, playing in a Super Bowl twice. They're not used to drafting this early on in the NFL draft. If you are a 49ers fan or backer, how excited should you be about the selection made for Michael Williams?
You have to, you look at the 49ers and you look at the success that they have had just in terms of the tenure, running the football from an offensive perspective with Christian McCaffrey, opening up the play action passing attack, and on the defensive side of the ball, knowing that Bosa and that front seven cannot just get after the quarterback, but they're very good in run support. Michael Williams is the guy that will force double teams. Again, dominant first rush. Technique is phenomenal, and we know that Kirby Smart teaches these guys to perform on the next level. He's got a motor. Again, is he like a Jalen Carter type of player? I don't know, but I don't think he's far off from where Jared Verse was a year ago.
Man, oh man, it's going to be real. No, just wanted to throw this out there to people.
Okay.
Live draft specials now appearing on FanDuel. Looks just to be guys to be selected within a range. So something I'm going to just try and track for everybody, see if anything pops here. Just quickly on Dallas, really interested to see. A lot of people thought wide receiver, but then the market started to think Ted McMillan off of the board at 8. What is this Dallas pivot point potentially?
And that will be a very interesting thing for the Dallas Cowboys. Are they targeting a wide receiver? We will find out in just a matter of moments as we go around and see where the Cowboys stand, Kev, and we see what they were thinking of doing in this moment. If not a wide receiver, what do we think Dallas is looking at?
There was some offensive line chatter for Dallas. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There certainly was some of that.
Right.
And, let's make it happen, pal.
And the pick is now officially in for the Dallas Cowboys with the 12th overall selection of the 2025 NFL Draft. Cowboys take Tyler Booker, the offensive guard out of Alabama, goes 12th overall to Dallas. So that's what we see, Lisi, guy looking at the interior of the O-line and making that pick for Tyler Booker. Of course, first-year head coach Brian Schottenheimer takes the reins in Big D. Do you like the selection Dallas just made?
Yeah, blue-collar, physical. Led that Alabama offensive line. When you talk about a guard, you want to run the football right behind him, right? And that's what Dallas struggled with Rico Dowdle. The rushing attack was non-existent. It was inconsistent at times, and you still have a quarterback coming back from an injury. You want to shore up the offensive line to make sure that Dak Prescott can at least play 17 games in the regular season. Solid pick. Again, doesn't move the needle and doesn't make them any closer and close the gap to the Philadelphia Eagles. No, but it's a step to getting that offense right.
It is also very interesting because, again, the Cowboys not expected to be in this spot and not a price we're used to seeing on Dallas getting ready for an NFL season. A 26-1 number on the Cowboys. Tyler Booker almost took out the NFL commish in Roger Goodell with his excitement to be the 12th overall pick in Dallas. Cap and Blue, right over to you. Of course, the Cowboys always have very optimistic hopes for any NFL season. How does Tyler Booker factor into the equation for Brian Schottenheimer in 2025?
That's a Hall of Fame hug right there from Tyler Booker. I got to give him credit for that. I need that coat, by the way, that he's got on. 6'5", 325, a massive player. And while guards are not typically, Adam, the most popular first-round position, he is considered one of the safest picks in this draft. An excellent pick, I think, for the Cowboys as they try to build back into what their offensive lines used to look like.
Mike, he's the highest graded interior offensive lineman for this draft. There's no question about it from talking to teams and offensive line coaches. Now, You're right, Mike, when you say guards typically are not drafted this early. But yeah, the Zach Martin retirement, right? You had Travis Frederick, who was a center years ago, who retired. And they needed to figure this issue out in the interior of their offensive line. I know for some people it's going to be early. But Mike, this is what we were talking about when you and I talked before the draft today. Guys are going to go earlier than you would think because this is not a great first round. But you know what? They got a 8 to 10 year starter in Tyler Booker, no question about it.
Yeah, not the splash kind of pick that you expect out of the Cowboys, Ben, but certainly a solid addition.
The Alabama Crimson Tide, yet another first-round pick. Their 32nd first-round selection in the last decade. Now make it 11 NFL drafts for those from Tuscaloosa. Miami Dolphins are on the clock with the 13th overall pick. What is Miami thinking in the 2025 NFL Draft? Find out next.